It's rolling. Okay, there we go. So let's take off the mask. Welcome everybody to this talk with Trajal Harrell, who is sitting on my left. Thanks for coming.
Thank you for having me.
We're sitting in Kunsthalle Zürich, where Trajal is going to have a project. If it is going to happen, we'll see, and we're going to talk about this project. A short introduction of Trajal. He's a dancer and choreographer. I guess you danced all over the world, but not only in theaters and dance festivals, but also in museums like the MoMA, the Walker Art Center, the Barbican, and so on. So he enjoyed a lot of different audiences, or was confronted with a lot of different audiences, and he developed a very broad practice of dancing that includes a lot of different influences, and we're going to talk about this as well. I would like to start just with naming the three projects we're going to have here at Kunsthalle Zürich. So it's Dancer of the Year Shop number 3, it's Dancer of the Year, and a third one, a world premiere, The Deathbed of Catherine Dunham. So maybe Trajal, let's just roll out and take these three projects as a guideline. Can you describe to us the Dancer of the Year Shop concept?
Yeah. I woke up one morning and I had an email that said I had been chosen the Dancer of the Year by Tons magazine, the main dance magazine in Germany, and probably one of the major dance magazines in Europe and in the world. And I thought it was a joke. I thought it was one of those kind of like things where you press something and you're supposed to do what?
A troll.
Yeah. But it wasn't that, and I was still unsure, so I called my administrator, and she looked at the email, and it seemed to be right. And I was very perplexed. I thought it was a joke, because I'd seen this thing where they choose the Dancer of the Year every year, and I had kind of made fun of it. I really thought. So it was just really strange that all of a sudden it was me. And it took me a while to I was making fun of it all the time. I was saying, I'm the Dancer of the Year, I'm the Dancer of the Year. And then I realized that I was partially happy.
Flattered.
Yes, I was flattered because I thought, wow, they chose me. And that's really I'm an interesting choice to be the Dancer of the Year. And so obviously there was a conflict there, and I realized that I had to make a piece about it. And then when I made a piece about it, I'm trying to sit here and remember, when did the idea of the shop come up?
Because maybe one has to explain, so you set up a shop with vitrines.
Yes.
And what is in these vitrines?
Are items that of value that have to do with my legacy as a dancer, items that I do not want to sell. The things that were so valuable to me that I did not want to sell them. But I'm trying to sell them because I want them to have a longer life. I want them to have life as artworks. So I set up this, but I can't, it's very hard for me.
So it is an actual shop. When you come in, you can see it and buy it.
Yes, and I performed the shop, now
the shopkeeper.
The shopkeeper in the beginning, the first shop, but as the shop has different iterations, there are different people there are other people who perform.
What do you say? Do you like?
It's a very limited number of items in the shop, and each time the shop is installed, it is an installation. Each time the shop is installed, maybe a few things are taken away, a few things are added, but they're very...
It's like a magazine. I saw there's a magazine.
There's a magazine that I made that there's only 20 copies. Too. There's a quilt from the slaves in my family made that's come down in my family that's for sale. Things that of really intense value to me, like emotional value. That my work is a lot about emotionality. Like I tried to find things that I did not want to sell, the things that I couldn't, that I couldn't imagine giving up, but I would only give up because if they were sold as art, they would have a longer life than if they stayed with me. So this was...
They wouldn't disappear with you.
Exactly.
Hopefully.
This is the idea. But I don't remember how, in the beginning, I really got to that I would do a shop. I think it was also like this dancer of the year, like merchandising, like this idea of doing, first it was like t-shirts or something, that I was going to have a t-shirt, dancer of the year, and then I thought, and the more and more I thought about it, I thought I should try to sell things I don't want to sell. Like usually, because usually dancers sell things to support the companies, to support the thing. And I thought, oh, okay, but the dancer of the year, like I have to really, really, really look at the value of what that means and what kind of things I could not sell, things I tried to find things that I did not want to get rid of, but that contributed towards this legacy of this dancer of the year.
So the shop actually builds a small stage, right?
Yes, yes.
But you have a conflicted relationship to the stage, as far as I could understand. You like it and you don't like it. You don't, you know, we were discussing, so you don't like the theater, like the spotlights. You also, when I went to see some of your shows, we're actually sitting on the same level as you dance.
Yeah.
So the stage, maybe you can say something about the stage, the how you handle also this, I think, very important idea you have as the dance, the performance as a moment to create a group or a community, and not just two groups facing each other, a bit like us now. But
I mean, I think that, like, you know, I'm really into togetherness. Mm-hmm. You know, I think that I really try to bring this sense of being together in a moment, in time, in one time, together in a room, in a space, in a moment. And this is very, very hard to just in general in life, to come into the moment, because we have so many things going on. And I think that that's one of the basic things that performance can bring us back to, is this moment of just like, okay, we're just here together on the planet, here, right now, and this is amazing. Life, breathing, you know? And I try to just bring my performances into this moment, and that's always been the case.
And that's why you, I think in an interview I was listening to, you say, like going to a theater or also going to see a show, it's like a civic duty. It's because you perform that togetherness, which is also a very important thing in society, and you go all the way down to the last moment, because I don't know if you do it all the time, but the one or two shows I have been, I mean, I've seen more than one or two, but I remember one, so when we would walk out, you would be at the door and shake hands. So you not only you perform, and you're a choreographer as well, but at the end, when everybody leaves, and a friend of mine was so enthusiastic, I think she even brought you a little letter, because she knew you would stand there personally and shake the hand. So that's all knitting this togetherness, right?
Yeah. You know, it's a very, you're hearing you, it's because of course we're in this period now where I'm not performing so much.
Yes.
And I forget just how, you know, because when I was performing all the time and doing it, traveling, and now those moments are so beautiful, like meeting people and being present with people in the moment. When I try, not all the pieces I do it, but a lot of the pieces I'm there when people leave at the end. Because I don't know, I think it's very, I mean, and that's also why a lot of my performances remain that's why I like to do things in smaller settings, not just big theater. I do big theater pieces, and that's important too. But I really do like to meet the viewer, the audience, one-on-one. There's something about this connection that's very strong to me, this one-to-one connection that I'm able to have in a lot of visual art settings that, let's say, I'm not necessarily able to have in theatrical settings.
Are you missing it a lot at the moment? Or are you actually a bit relaxed, happy to?
You know, it's a bit of both. As we're talking here, I'm very moved, because I realize how much I miss it, you know, how much I miss being with people and sharing, and how it's so easy, because you're touring and you're traveling, you're doing things, you're going to this place and going to that place, and you kind of take it for granted. But I have to say, I think that I think it's been important to stop, you know, and to you know, I don't know, just like be for a while, be a person, and not be on the road and not be performing. But I'm also enjoying the break from it. But I think that when I get started again, I won't be able to stop. You know what I mean? Like,
Yes.
it feels like this.
I can understand. Yeah.
Like once it gets started again, I think when I stop, that will be it. You know, it's okay. I stop, I'm done. I don't dance anymore. But I think that now I'm okay. I'm okay the rest, because when it starts, I think I will know how precious it is really to be with front of people.
So you're having this residency at Schauspielhaus Zürich, and this project is part of this collaboration between Schauspielhaus Zürich and Kunsthalle Zürich. So the third element, so you have the shop, the Dancer of the Year, and the third element is the deathbed of Catherine Dunham, which would be a world premiere. But let's first talk about why. You know, what is your interest in Catherine Dunham? She was a legendary figure for dance, especially in the US, but also in Europe. She was an activist. She had her own school. She was une grande dame de la danse.
Yeah.
And you met her in the very last moments of her life. So maybe you can tell a little bit about that.
Well, as you say, I was a young dancer in New York, and one of my friends told me that.
When was that?
This was in 2000.
Something.
Well, no, I should know the year. This is in 2006, I believe.
Yeah.
2006.
Yeah.
A friend of mine said that Catherine Dunham was dying on the Upper West Side, and would I like to go visit her? I didn't know so much. I mean, I knew about who Catherine Dunham was. I'd taken one Dunham class in my life. I thought it was a technique that was too difficult for my body, was not exact for me. I knew a little bit about her. But I knew for some reason that I wanted to go for posterity. Like I didn't understand why to go, but I knew there was some reason to go. And I went and I sat there. My friend, she wanted some things taken to my friend was working in Cuba with the artists from Cuba, and she wanted to get some things to some friends in Cuba, some things of hers, because at the time there was an embargo with Cuba, the United States, so people had different means to travel to Cuba and to get friends things. And she was giving these things, and I sat there that afternoon. I was a young dancer. She was very regal. She was ill, you could tell, but she was very regal, sitting in bed. She was in all white, she had turbans. And I sat there for like 2 hours. I didn't think very much of it. But I knew it was important, but I was young, and I was like, she was an old lady and she was dying, and I just took it in. I didn't judge it a lot. I didn't think about it a lot. And then we jump almost 10 years later to 20 when I did do MoMA. We're in 21 now? Yeah, so it's almost 10 years, 2016. And I have this residency at the MoMA, and my work is changing because I'd been doing work on the voguing dance tradition, and I just didn't want it to look at butoh dance, this Japanese, avant-garde Japanese dance form. And slowly, I began to realize that there is this question of Catherine Dunham having Hijikata, the founder of butoh, having shared a studio with Catherine Dunham before he does the first butoh piece. And that perhaps part of her research he had learned from and had used part of it to start butoh. And so this was just like a twist of my mind, because there I had been at the deathbed of Catherine Dunham, but I didn't have the question to ask her, did she meet Tatsumi Hijikata? What did they talk about? Da, da, da. So this piece is a bit about this gap in history, that I was there in the moment with her when she's dying, she's at her deathbed, but I don't have the question to ask. It's only later that I actually have the question. So the piece is really about this gap in history
The questions you couldn't ask.
The questions I couldn't ask, the what ifs, you know.
The what ifs.
And so that's what Deathbed is about, the deathbed of Catherine Dunham. And it's also, I mean, it started out with this idea of, I started from this voguing idea of bitches, because bitches, voguing has a very particular language and way of using discourse from this dancing culture. And one of the words they use bitch as an honorific. So it was part of this trilogy of people, of bitches, and Catherine Dunham seeing her as an honor, as a bitch as an honor. I was investigating her life and then finding these dovetails with Hijikata, and I'm still working on it. It hasn't premiered yet.
Okay. Well, we could go on forever. Let me check. Here we go. I'm just going to check. The bitches. Yes,
because usually that's the thing in the vote. Because usually, if you say bitch, this is seen as a curse, like you're saying something bad about someone. But in the voguing dance tradition, this is an honorific.
Yes.
To be called a bitch it's an honor. So it was. I was trying to look at this in this kind of way, like to look at how she had been, you know, how you could classify her within this. And she was a remarkable, you know, she was an amazing woman. I mean, the things she did, the traveling she did, because I'm...
The legacy.
The amount of countries, like there's a project that's been, there's now that I've been investigating her researching her for a while. There's even a project where they've tracked her. And that she went all over the world. And she was actually in Japan for many years. She stopped there for a while. She disbanded her company and she stayed there for a while. So she was really world traveled, and she did so many things. And it still amazes me that there I was at her deathbed. I mean, it's still, when I really think about it, and I was just so, I was dumb. I didn't have the meat. I didn't have the, you know, to make the soup. I was there she was, you know, and I could have asked her so many things, but I did. And the piece is really about this gap, about how do you feel that, you know what I mean? How do you feel this gap in history and in your own personal history that can never be filled? I can never go really back to that moment. It was full of potential, you know? Yeah. And maybe that is the beauty of it, is that I didn't have the question, you know? And it stays with me for all my life as an unanswerable. And maybe that's what, you know, we have to see what this part of what this piece is about.
Yeah, I look forward to see all this. So the time is unfortunately already running out, but we will have more occasion to talk to each other and make it public. But maybe I thought, you know, we should ask the audience. Does the audience have a question? Two people in the room, any questions?
I was asked if when we're doing the deathbed of Catherine Dunham, is it an interpretation?
Is it an interpretation, or is it in honor of her?
In honor of her?
Or is it performance in thought of her? I mean, there are slight differences.
In thought of her. Is it in thought of her? It's really about this gap in history, this gap in my own personal history, about how do you feel F-I-L-L and feel F-E-E-L, a gap in time. I can never go back to this moment of this deathbed and ask her what was her relationship to Hijikata and to butoh. So I try to fill this gap the best way I know how. I'm trying to fill in the blank of what I could not ask her, of what I didn't know, of what I was so immature or so... You know, in my mind, there I was with this amazing woman in this amazing life, and I had nothing to, and I just didn't have the questions to ask. And now I have the questions. So it's really, I'm really struggling in the piece. I mean, that's what the piece, I mean, I like it when the dance actualizes something. So there's a struggle in the piece of me trying to somehow deal with a gap in time, a gap in history in which I was unable, I didn't have the questions that I have now. And so it's not so much about answering the questions as much as it is about dealing with the fact that there's a gap that I can never quite fill, you know? And this creates a kind of tension for me in the room and the feeling and with the materiality of the materials that we deal with. We're dealing with time, we're dealing with death, we're dealing with flowers, we're dealing with like music and things which relate in a way to her or recall something about her or memory of, but we can never quite feel it to taste, you know, we can never quite get there. And this not being able to get there creates a tension. It creates something that to me is close to art, because you have a different feeling. It's not the feeling of knowing, it's not the feeling of not knowing, it's something quite in between, and this in-betweenness for me is quite special. That's what I'm after, and it's not something I can name, it's not something I can just put my finger on, it's something I can only perform. We have to be in the room together, calling into the space, trying to figure out how to somehow get around this predicament in time and history and space. And this is when dance happens for me, you know. So it's not a precise answer for you, but
no, I think it's actually a very wonderful and precise answer, and it's very nice. I think let's close on that. I think it's one of the best description of art I've heard for a long time.
Oh, thank you, Dan.
So thank you, Trajal, for coming over here, and yeah, let's. I hope we're soon back on stage or in space and together.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Trajal.
Thank you.